Hello. I figured I'd do a video about what I think about the Seth Books, Jane Roberts, because they're cult books, and I think I'll do a cult book because people probably watch the video. Um, Seth Books, Jane Roberts, she channeled these books from this spirit named Seth. I think I read all of her channel books. I think there's like 5 or something like that. Seth Speaks, Nature of Personal Reality, those are the best ones. And she goes into a trance. She's not like a conscious channeler. She totally goes into a trance, and this spirit named Seth talks through her, and she just, if you type Jane Roberts into YouTube, you'll actually see videos of her talking, and it's really cool. She's really trippy. She's like, you do know that you have the power. And it's really weird, but I believe it. Do I recommend it? Oh yeah, I definitely recommend it. This is like, I love this stuff. If I were to recommend anything, I'd recommend this because it's, people want to know what it's like on the other side, and this guy explains what it's like on the other side big time. He did say some stuff though that's really hard to kind of digest and understand. Well, one of, for example, is he was telling stories of lots of his past lives, and he was a woman. Once he died of hunger as a woman. So I guess you can reincarnate as a man and then a woman, and that can be kind of weird because it kind of seems like faggy. But seems kind of faggy to me too, but I kind of get over that by just thinking, well, you do like a certain number of lives as a man, and then you do a number of lives as a woman. It's not like you're a woman and then you're a man and then a woman and a man type of a thing. So yeah, I believe you can reincarnate as a man and then a woman. In every like past life memory I've had, it was never as a woman though, so maybe I've been a man for a long amount of lives, I don't know. But she says some other interesting stuff too that's kind of hard to, oh shit, I forgot to fucking time myself. Whatever. She says some other stuff too that's kind of difficult to digest, like soulmates. Not soulmates the way that normal people think of it, like your girlfriend or your boyfriend, someone of the opposite sex and they're the only one for you of the opposite sex and you'll marry them and live happily ever after type of thing. But soulmates as in like they are you. Like when you die you actually become the same person, like a soul bifurcating and then living in 2 different places at the same time. And actually went to a channeler once, and not a conscious channeler, like a channeler like her, where you're actually talking to other spirits, and not one spirit, lots of different spirits, and that was real also. And they actually said I had a soul brother who was this black dude in Africa who's having a hard life and about to die, and like when he died, he'd like become one with me or something. But so it's like she's not the only channeler who talks about that kind of stuff, and it's hard to wrap your head around. But maybe you're not totally the same on the other side. It's kind of like soul brother or something like that. But anyway, it's some food for thought. She even wrote a novel about it, I think, called Oversoul 7. I never read it. But I don't know how much she remembers of the channel. She's kind of like Edgar Cayce, kind of like a sleeping prophet. But I haven't read any of these books for like 15 years. I read them all like back a long time ago in the mid 90s. But these are the kind of books that you can pick up any old page. Like I just picked up the random page. I'll like choose something random, like their communicative abilities and therefore creative abilities were more vital, live, responsive than yours are. When you hear a word, may be aware of the corresponding image of your mind. So they must be talking about like probably some race in the past. She talked about different races. Like she said there was this race in the past that was like really peaceful, and they had really fine white hairs all over their body, but they were so peaceful that they couldn't fight at all. Like when people would invade them, they would just lay down and let them kill them. And that actually makes sense, back in a long time ago when the world was very isolated and primitive. There's probably lots of different races that don't exist now that we're totally peaceful, you know, because we've been so violent the last few thousand years that it's only the violent ones who survive, and that's why we're so violent, you know. But so I bet you there are lots of races like that were totally peaceful. She also talked about races that live underground. I think races that live underground today also. But the main the main point, the main philosophical point that I took away from all of those books, like the nature of personal reality, that this guy Seth was trying to drill into people, is that everything that happens to you, you actually wanted that to happen to you. You chose for that to happen to you. And he even gave an example of a guy who was walking down the sidewalk and a flower pot fell off of somebody's balcony and hit him in the head and killed him. And Seth was saying that this guy actually wanted that to happen and deliberately made that happen. Like somehow some part of his soul, you know, deliberately walked under that and made that thing fall on his head so he would die. And so that's a pretty crazy example. But so basically, you know, everything you have, all the control you want in your life, and everything that happens for a reason you want to, you know. So it's kind of like me, I lived in Chile for 5 years in the ghetto, and now I'm thinking, oh my God, what did I do that for? I was fucking broke off my ass for 5 years, living with a bunch of crazy people, when I could have been spending all that money traveling around the world. And then I think, well, I must have wanted to do that, you know, and it's actually true. I remember looking back in the time when I first got there and thinking, you know what, I think I want a girlfriend, and I don't want to travel anymore. I want to settle down and, you know, learn how to work the computer and stuff. So I guess if I had kept traveling, I wouldn't have accomplished those things. So whatever you do, whatever you're doing now, that's what you want to do, and that's what's great for you. And if you ever want to change and do something else, well, do it. And I remember in one book, I think it's Seth Speaks, where he was talking about his different jobs on the other side. Like this guy even had different jobs on the spirit world. It's not like you just hang out twiddling your thumbs. You actually do stuff. And he was assigned at one point to to be one of the greeters when people die, and he was working. He was assigned to working in the Middle East with these suicide bombers, or I don't know what century it was, but like jihad people who were dying in war, and they expected when they died to be greeted by Allah. So what his job is to pretend he was Allah, and I think they expected like Allah to kill some other demon or something, and so they put on this show, this act for these Muslims, so that when they died, they actually saw what they were expecting, so they weren't in for a big shock, and then I guess maybe they were eased into the reality of things after that. But that's pretty crazy. That's pretty much all I have to say about Seth and Jane Roberts, because I haven't read him for so long. I love this stuff, though. I could pick it up any old page. You pick up any old page and read it. It's just fascinating. And she also talks about history, you know, kind of like Edgar Cayce did. I remember in one part of the book I just picked up a random page, and she's talking about how aliens came down to the Yucatan, and they started schools for these Indians, but the Indians, they were too savage to understand what they were teaching, so it kind of didn't go anywhere. And anyway, interesting stuff. I definitely recommend read this stuff. And if I got it all wrong, sorry, dude. Haven't read the shit for 10 years. At least I'm getting my ideas out there.